Well, hello there. My name is David Neenan, and when Peter first called me and invited me to speak at this webinar, I was on the one hand honored, and on the other hand I was a little bit nervous about it. And then I thought, my gosh, if people are willing to spend the time and listening and watching, that I should certainly have enough initiative to do the same and at least give you the best I could in terms of individual branding. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge George Dial, who is our IT manager here at the company, and he's also the producer and the director and the photographer of this ceremony. So thank you, George. I appreciate it. I think the title of the speech is To Die and So to Grow, and it will become obvious in a while. In the meantime, I'd like to give you just a little bit of background on me. I've made many mistakes, and I think all of us make mistakes, and sometimes the only crime is if you make the same mistake over and over and over again and don't know you're making it. But if you do know you're making it, a mistake, you can learn from it and use it as a fulcrum and become more effective in your life. So here are some mistakes that I made as a youngster. When I was 9, I began cutting class at a Catholic school called Sacred Heart Elementary. I illegally spent advanced funds as a paper boy at age 10 and got caught. At age 15, I was arrested for joyriding, stealing a car and joyriding. I was kicked out of high school at 16. I flunked out of the University of Missouri at 18. And then I joined the Army, and I found out there were far more severe consequences for misbehaving than in academia. So I think the Army really helped me out a lot. I started a business at age 30. When I was 36, I lost $670,000 when my net worth was $94,000. My wife said, David, I haven't lost any confidence in you. Have you lost confidence in yourself? And you know, I asked myself, what would I have to do to be okay if I lost the business, lost the family, lost everything? And the only thing I came up with was, I'm going to do the best I can, the best I possibly can. So you get the point. Mistakes are okay if you learn. What sort of a person do you want to become? What sort of standards govern behavior? And what are your standards and where do they come from? If you had a child, and let's say you do have a child, would you want your child to be very successful in his or her career? Would you like for them to be very good at what they do, or would you like for them to be extremely smart? I know people who are so desperate for success, they think it's all about money. And they have a hole in their soul, and they put the money in it thinking that that's going to stitch it up and make it okay. If they're not good, if they are not, reputation is what arrives before you do. And if you're a good person, people know it. You can't act like you're good and not be good. So I think it's really important to have moral standards that guide your life. And I think that might be the most important key when it comes to branding. Success at any expense? No. Values count. My family and the Sacred Heart Elementary, growing up as a Catholic, helped me learn about values, and particularly about right from wrong. And while the nuns taught me the Ten Commandments and right from wrong, didn't mean that I didn't do wrong. It just meant that I knew what I was doing wrong. And I value them a lot more now than I did at that time. And then I got hit with what I would consider to be a black swan. And a black swan is defined as something unexpected but catastrophic hits you. And as I was 17, I might have mentioned I have 9 brothers and sisters. My father was killed in a car accident. I was the oldest boy. This just really leveled me. I went to Father Thomas at Sacred Heart Elementary. That's where I was a server boy. And he said, how are you doing, in the face of your father's death? And I said, I'm hopeless. I have no hope. I don't know what our family's going to do. I don't know what we're going to be able to do. And he said, David, you're a Catholic, so it's a sin not to have hope. And I'd never really heard that before, but I got hope. And I started working. And today my life is a miracle. I have a wife named Sharon who has been with me for 46 years. We have 4 children, all daughters, and they are all married, and they have together 8 grandchildren, four grand boys and 4 grand girls, all under the age of 6, and most of whom shy a little of discipline. So my job as a grandfather is to help discipline them, even though they may be pretty young. I want to step back a little bit. I went to the University of Missouri after I flunked out after the Army and did pretty well in school. But I had Philosophy 101, and this was from a professor who who sat on top of his desk. He had a tweed coat, Argyle socks, and he held his hand up and he said, "How many of you think or believe in God?" Everybody in the classroom, there were probably 30 people, everybody held their hand up. And he said, "Well, if I've done my job, by the end of this semester, I'll ask the same question and there won't be any hands." And so everybody got excited, everybody got upset. For the whole semester, he would start with a baited question like that. And here we were, largemouth bass jumping out of the swamp taking the bait. But he was a great, great teacher. I think I learned more from him than anyone. And one of the things I learned was existentialism. I read a lot about Nietzsche and existentialism. And I knew that my moral values were set from Catholicism. I'm still right now a bit of a Catholic, but a bit of an agnostic. But I'm also an existentialist because I believe both philosophy and religion can be foundations for living a moral life. So just real quickly, from an existentialist standpoint, taking my view, you're born free. But that doesn't mean you exercise your freedom. You exercise your freedom by making choices. And guess what? Part 2, you are responsible for your choices. You're not just responsible, you're accountable. And there's a big difference between those two words. We have all kinds of politicians that come up and they do something really stupid and they say, "I misspoke and I'm responsible for that." So that's it. They don't say, "I misspoke, I'm responsible, and I am therefore tending my resignation because I do not deserve to be in a position of honor, dishonoring you as my constituents." So you have to be accountable, and that's the key thing. And in life, listen, reality can get nasty. It got nasty when my father died. It got nasty when I lost all that money, and yet it's real and it happens to us. So in life, we can be real guilty. Maybe we offended someone and we feel guilty. That's good because that tells us maybe we ought to apologize. We can feel anxious, and anxiety is something that's undirected. You don't know, but it's stressful. You lose sleep over it. But for an existentialist, when I feel anxiety, to me, it's like life reaching out saying, "You can be more, you can do more, wake up." So I think anxiety is good. If you try to cut out anxiety by getting divorced, taking drugs, drinking booze, all of those things keep you from understanding the benefit of anxiety. And so instead of attacking anxiety, you embrace it. And then there's evil in life. If there's good in life, there's evil in life. So guess what? Fighting evil is important. And if you don't have the courage to fight evil, maybe you can at least support someone that does. But evil does exist. And then death. We all die. Everybody's going to die someday. So in the face of your death, what are you going to do with your life? And to me, if you can mix death into every single day of your life, you will be more alive. No more procrastination. No more victimhood. Make a choice, make a decision. If you wish, like an illusion, that you could be this or you could be that, a wish has no action accompanying it, but a decision does. If you make a decision, you can turn an idea into reality. And to be an existentialist in my brand is this: the stand you take in the face of these challenges that we all have, like guilt, anxiety, evil, and death. I also think that it's important for you to be a leader, and the toughest thing for you to lead is yourself, not other people, yourself. If you can lead yourself, you have a good chance. But to be a good leader, you also have to understand what is ethics, what is vision, what is reality, and the most important thing, what is courage? What is it going to take for you to get off your butt and do something worthwhile with your life? So, I would like to go back to existentialism. And existentialism, one of the founders of it, basically, I believe, is Friedrich Nietzsche. And he wrote his best book called Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Zarathustra was a holy man that was in the Middle East 3,500 years before Christ. And in this book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche talks about the three metamorphoses of the spirit. Now, a metamorphosis is a change in being, a change in life. So let's start with this. The first one was a camel. Let's say you start life as a camel. You kneel down when you're aware of your life, and you say, give me a load, pack me up, and I'll haul it into the desert. I don't want any more than I can take, but I don't want any less than I can take. So I am a beast of burden, and I'm going into the desert, and I am hauling the load, carrying the weight. And as I get in there and carry the weight, what I find out is there's nobody else in the desert. This is really lonely. This is solitude. I need to do my own thinking. Why am I a beast of burden for others? Why can't I have more control over my own life? And so the camel starts thinking, and as the camel thinks, the camel all of a sudden turns into the second metamorphosis, which is a lion. And a lion wants power. A lion wants freedom. A lion wants liberation. A lion does not want to subject himself or herself to the control of other people. So a lion says, I want to be free. Well, it turns out that in the lion's presence, there is a grand dragon, and the dragon is massive, the dragon is mean, the dragon is called Thou Shalt. And the reason the dragon is called Thou Shalt is that he has 1,000 scales, and each scale has a golden Thou Shalt on it. Now, you shouldn't do this, don't do that, don't start that, you need to do this. But it's society, it's culture, it's background, all oppressing, and it's oppressing you. And the lion says, I don't like this. You're not the boss of me. And of course, Thou Shalt, the dragon, says, wait a minute, I'm in charge here. You need to do what I tell you to do. And if you don't, you're going to be in real trouble because I'm saying to you, you have to say yes to me, that I will do what you will do what I want. And the lion turns around and says, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. I am not saying yes to you. I am giving you a sacred no. I am not going to put up with what you're telling me to do. I'm going to be the champion of my own life, and I'm leaving. So goodbye. So the lion is now into it with the dragon. The dragon saying, you'll do what I tell you, and the lion is saying, no, I won't. And then the lion gets a little help from Goethe, who was a poet that lived in the last century. And he had a poem that said, distance does not make you falter. Now, arriving in magic, flying, and finally insane for the light, you are a butterfly, and you are gone. And so long as you haven't experienced this, to die, and so to grow, you are only a troubled guest on this dark earth. And the lion gets it. The lion says, I'm not a guest, I'm a player, and I'm going to take care of myself. And that's when the last metamorphosis happens. The lion becomes a child. A child is innocent. A child is forgetting. A child is a new beginning. A child plays games like Business and You, which you will be linked to, I think, in this presentation. And the child gives a sacred yes to life. And the child achieves liberation. The spirit now wills its own and conquers the world. Now, I believe that life is circular. I believe these metamorphoses happen maybe not in this order, but in different orders. I've been a camel at times. I've been a lion at times. And I think now, as I'm older, I'm becoming more childlike. It's pretty interesting. And so I think it's circular as opposed to anything else. Here's some useful axioms about this story from a fellow by the name of Jordan Bates that I'll read because I think they're really important. Number one, pain is necessary for positive transformation, and it should be embraced. You can use your pain as your counselor, not your jailer. In order to liberate yourself or we ourselves, we must wage war against control by external authorities telling us what to do all the time. We need to take responsibility and accountability for our own lives. We must cultivate great courage and strength and audacity in order to cut whatever puppet strings we might be operating under. But our goal should be to affirm life and to dance with it, to play and create as a child. So the goal is to be the master of your own destiny and to be respected as such, and treat others that way too. I know you're magnificent. You may not know that. But the only way you can prove your magnificence is the stand you take in the face of these challenges of life. You get knocked down, great. You get knocked down 7 times, great. Get up 8. Always get up. Your brand is you, so now you can go conquer the world. You have an engine inside. Heat it up in the morning, run it hot, get it awake, and get it engaged in something worthwhile that you would like to do. Make the decision and then take the action. Get it on. You can become the hero of your own life. And that's it. Thank you so much.